officers raid houses in the Socio Vivienda neighborhood of Guayaquil as part of an operation after the series of attacks in the city that killed 5 police officers.
With the help of the armed forces, they inspect a prison complex the day after the government declared a state of exception in the provinces of Guayas and Esmeraldas. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines.
Typhoon Paeng death toll jumps to 150 as damage cost goes up. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signs 2 more contracts for the Metro Manila subway project and vows to pursue more ambitious infrastructure projects for the country. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas plans to hike interest rates anew to match the latest move by the U.S. Federal Reserve. Russia resumes participation in the Ukrainian grain deal, but with some conditions. And North Korea has fired an intercontinental ballistic missile, according to South Korean armed forces.
The number of casualties from the onslaught of severe tropical storm Paeng continues to rise, with the latest death toll now at 150. The number of injuries has climbed to 128. The tally of missing people stands at 36. Most of the deaths were from Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM. 33 were logged in Calabarzon, and 29 were in Region 6, or Western Visayas. Almost 4 million individuals, or 1.143 million families, were affected by the storm all over the country. Around 1.2 million individuals were displaced by the calamity, with most of them living outside the evacuation centers. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, reported 15,162 houses are damaged by the storm, with an estimated damage cost of 17.2 million pesos. Damage to agriculture rose to 2.4 billion pesos, while damage to infrastructure is pegged at 2.8 billion pesos. The government has already allotted 136 million pesos in financial assistance and relief operations to aid calamity victims.
In related news, the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, has given more details on the cost of damage to infrastructure that Typhoon Paeng has left. DPWH data shows that damage to national roads is estimated at 917.8 million pesos, 523.8 million pesos worth of damage to national bridges, and 652.76 million pesos worth of damage to flood control structures. Infrastructure damage in Region 4A is pegged at 967.09 million pesos and 227.02 million pesos in the Cordillera Administrative Region. The Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM, incurred 200 million pesos worth of infrastructure damages, followed by Region 6 with 150.4 million pesos, Region 4B with 130.4 million pesos, and Region 12 with 102.68 million pesos. Other regions, including Regions 5, 2, 8, 1, 3, and 7, also recorded infrastructure damages worth millions of pesos. The DPWH reported that 24 roads remain closed to motorists in CAR, Regions 1, 3, 4A, 6, 8, 12, and BARM. due to destroyed pavement or slope protection, road cut, collapsed bridges, damaged bridge approach, flooding, debris, and other related safety concerns. The DPWH assured that its quick response teams are rushing the clearing operations in the affected areas.
The House of Representatives has raised 75 million pesos for the victims of severe tropical storm Paeng. Vic Somintak has the details.
Inspired by the Bayanihan spirit, the House of Representatives continue raising funds for relief operations for the victims of severe tropical storm Paeng in the country. The lower chamber has so far raised 75 billion pesos. House Speaker Martin Romualdez said the fund include contributions directly from congressmen, from friends and allies. Of the amount, 49 million pesos are in cash, while 26 million pesos are in kind donations. The House employees have volunteered to participate in the repacking of relief goods. Romualdez said Congress is deploying the relief goods to different areas badly hit by Paeng in coordination with the Philippine Air Force and Philippine National Police. 16 out of the country's 17 regions were devastated by Typhoon Paeng. Vic Somintak reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The Metro Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has deployed a 28-man team for a 15-day mission to help the people of Maguindanao, one of the provinces hardest hit by severe tropical storm Paeng. MMDA Acting Chairman Attorney Romando Artes said the team is from the agency's Public Safety Division. The deployment is in response to the directive of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to provide help to the calamity victims. 40 units of portable water purification systems with the capacity to filter 186 gallons of water per hour were also sent to the province. The team also brought with them equipment for road clearing operations. Artes has directed MMDA personnel to coordinate with the 6th Infantry Division of the Philippine Army.
The Marcos administration has formally signed the contract for 4 more stations for the Metro Manila subway project worth 21 billion pesos. Eden Santos for the story.
Thank you and congratulations.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is confident that the signing of the Metro Manila Subway Project, or MMSP contract packages 102 and 103, will spur much-needed economic development, especially now that the country is trying to emerge from the challenges brought by the pandemic and lay down the foundation for a strong post-pandemic economy. During the signing ceremony in Malacanang, the president said the move is a clear demonstration of his administration's commitment to pursue big and ambitious infrastructure projects to foster the country's economy, which should bring comfort and progress to Filipino. Addressing government partners, the president expressed confidence that the country can move towards building better and more infrastructure projects for the Filipino people through strong collaboration. Marcos thanked the Japanese government for partnering with the Philippines in pursuing the project through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, which provided the much-needed financial support. The chief executive also acknowledged the Nishimatsu DMCI joint venture and Sumitomo Mitsui Construction for working closely with the Department of Transportation in ensuring the completion of the contract packages. The MMSP contract packages 102 and 103 will cover the construction of stations and tunnels along Quezon Avenue, East Avenue, Anonas, and Campo Aguinaldo in Quezon City. Once completed, the flagship project will significantly reduce travel time between Quezon City and Pasay City from 1 hour and 30 minutes to just 35 minutes, and is also projected to benefit more than 500,000 passengers a day from Valenzuela City to Parañaque City.
Today, we had seen the signing of the Metro Manila Subway project with the signing of Contract Package 102 and Contract Package 103. I am one with the Filipino people in anticipating the eventual realization of this extremely important flagship project, which, once it is completed, will significantly reduce travel time between Quezon City and Pasay from 1 hour and 30 minutes to just 35 minutes.
A fully operational MMSP is also seen to create millions of jobs and business opportunities. And even before it begins its operations, the civil works for contract packages 102 and 103 are set to generate thousands of jobs and opportunities for many Filipinos. Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Education has inspected several public schools in Quezon to assess their blended learning mode of teaching to students. Nadine Aguilar has the details.
Officials of the Department of Education inspected several public schools in Quezon City that are conducting blended learning as a mode of teaching their students. Based on DepEd's records, there are up to 158 schools in Quezon City, but 10 of them are implementing blended learning. This is despite the DepEd earlier releasing a memorandum circular requiring all public schools to conduct 5 days of in-person classes. Among those schools which did not heed DepEd's memo are the Batasan National High School and Justice Cecilia Muñoz Palma High School. Batasan National High School conducts in-person classes until Wednesday. They implement online classes from Thursday to Friday. School officials say they do not have enough classrooms, even though they already divided their classes into 2. They also say that students are crammed inside the room. Justice Cecilia Muñoz Palma High School implements 1 week of in-person classes and 1 week of online classes. The school contends that they have more than 10,000 students. They cannot accommodate all the students at the same time.
Mas practical yung 1 week sila dito, 1 week sila sa bahay.
Okay po. At saka isa din, economical. Imagine yung pamasahe nila dito muna.
The DepEd said these schools would not be able to implement full face-to-face classes because these schools lack sufficient facilities for their voluminous number of students. The schools already submitted the necessary requirements. Hence, DepEd has approved their request for a blended learning mode of education.
Definitely po, no, na meron naman ang long-term plan po talaga sa kakulangan sa classroom ay, of course, to build more classrooms. That's the long-term plan. That's something that DepEd will have to discuss also with the LGU. Siyempre, madali po magsabi na magtatayo tayo ng classroom, but also we also need buildable space aside from budgetary constraints. So that's something naman po that this administration under Vice President Secretary Sara Duterte is looking to address po talaga during her term. But again, right now what we're doing po, no, is we're bringing our learners back to school in a safe manner. That's why meron tayong nag-in-person at doon naman po talaga sa may kakulangan, and we have to admit na may kakulangan at shortages talaga sa classroom. Doon po tayo nagbe-blended.
Several students are forced to use their cell phones in their computer programming subjects. However, the DepEd found out that some computers are damaged and the laptops that were lent to the teachers are not yet returned. During the pandemic, the schools lent their laboratory laptops to the teachers for online learning. But in San Francisco High School, teachers are not yet returning the 50 laptops to the school. Some students have no laptops to use. According to the school principal, they are giving their teachers up to Monday to return the laptops.
Asa ngayon, dahil ihilingin na namin sa mga teachers na maibalik para mayroon silang magamit ng mga bata dahil magpo-full blast face-to-face na kami by Monday. Hindi pwedeng hindi sasauli ng teachers yun. Isasauli po talaga yon kasi para sa bata yun. Yun na. Kung kailangan may sauli po talaga. Kasi sa ngayon, di ba, blended kami. Mayroon namang tablets na ginagamit ang mga bata sa instructional purposes na pinahiram ng city government.
POA clarifies that these laptops must be returned because the students will use them in their computer laboratories.
Naglabas po kasi ng memo, no, back in 2020, yung former undersecretary ng administration strand namin na nagsasabi na as an exception lang po mailabas lang po yung mga, ma-release at mapahiram yung mga gadgets found in our computer labs in our schools sa mga teachers. Okay, so these are gadgets that are actually the property of the schools themselves. No, hindi po to property, hindi po to yung mga ini-issue natin sa teachers. At nakasaad din po sa memo na to under paragraph 4 that the teachers, very clearly, the teachers are required to return the said devices upon the resumption of regular classes. Ang explanation po kasi dyan is, of course, kakailanganin naman po natin yung mga pinahiram na kagamitan para po ilagay sa mga paaralan natin para naman po magamit talaga ng ating mga learners for which they were originally intended. So yan po yung talagang nangyari dyan.
As of this moment, DepEd did not see any flaw in the schools that implement full face-to-face classes. Those who cannot conduct classes right now are more than 500 schools that are used as evacuation centers for the victims of the recent typhoon and earthquake.
Definitely po, no? Yung paghahati po, that's a strategy being implemented by the regional office po, pre-pandemic pa. However, nakikita nyo naman sa ngayon nga, pagdating po sa high school, since medyo mas malalaki yung mga estudyante natin doon, it will appear that talagang congested po sila. And that's why they have requested for yung ating blended learning modality. Because syempre, sabi nga natin kahapon, we find in-person classes to be most advantageous for our learners. But at the same time, we also need to be concerned about their safety and welfare. So may mga ganyan pong talagang sitwasyon, kung highly congested po ang ating mga paaralan, yan po talagang pinagbibigyan na mag-continue sa blended learning modality until maayos po yung sitwasyon in terms of yung mga classroom shortages, kakulangan sa mga learning resources.
Nadine Aguilar, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre II has presented to the media a video showing that former Bureau of Corrections officer in charge Rafael Ragos was not forced to testify against former Senator Laila de Lima. Moira Encina reports.
Former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre has once again denied allegations of former Bucor OIC Rafael Ragos that he was forced to testify against former Senator Laila de Lima on her alleged involvement in illegal drug trading inside the Bilibid. Ragos has recanted his earlier testimony in court against de Lima regarding the illegal drug cases filed against the former senator and accused Aguirre of forcing him to implicate de Lima. In his visit to the DOJ, Aguirre showed to members of the media the video of Ragos while he was giving a supplemental affidavit before the public attorney's office. Aguirre said he secured a copy of Ragos' testimony from PAO. He said it can be seen in a video recording the demeanor of Ragos as a proof that he was not forced in his testimony.
At makikita ninyo doon na walang namimilit sa kanya. Siya ang tuloy-tuloy na nagsasalita. Siya ang nagbigay ng lahat ng mga contents ng kanyang supplemental affidavit at tumatawa pa siya.
Aguirre added in the video Ragos was seen spontaneous and he voluntarily gives his testimony. Agila said he's ready to face a court if he will be presented as witness, but he added that Ragos has the luxury of time before to expose his allegations or file coercion charges, but he did not do such things.
Nagsalita siya sa House of Representatives 2 araw. Ganon din sa Senado 2 araw. Nandyan yung mga senador, nandyan yung mga congressman. Bakit hindi niya sinumbong si Secretary Aguirre na siya pinilit lamang?
Aguirre warned that Ragos may also face multiple charges of perjury because of his recantation. The former Justice Chief believes that someone big was behind Ragos and it's possible that he was bribed to withdraw his statement.
Nung sinasabi sa akin kahapon, nung mga taga-PAO, na wala daw ginawa yan during when he was assigned to PAO, kundi humingi ng pera, mag-advance ng pera.
Moira Encina reporting from Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is planning another rate hike to match the latest tightening section of the U.S. Federal Reserve. In a statement, BSP Governor Felipe Medalla said the Monetary Board plans to increase the country's key policy rate by 75 basis points when the board meets on November 17. The U.S. Fed has announced on Wednesday another 75 base point hike to ease on inflation. If realized, the move would send the BSP's benchmark to 5%. This will keep the interest rate differential between the two countries at the level before the November 2 FED hike adjustment to support the Philippine peso. Medalla said the BSP is monitoring all risks to the inflation outlook and is prepared to take necessary policy actions to bring inflation toward a target consistent path within the target band of 2 to 4% in the second half of 2023 and the full year of 2024.
Coming right up, Russia back in Ukraine grain deal. North Korea fires missile over Japan, triggers emergency warnings. And Iglesia ni Cristo extends hope to Tokyo's children in need. Mata ng Agila International. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Superstar ngayon na Piolo Pascual ay...
I worked as a security guard.
Okay, hindi ako makapaniwala dito sa narinig ko. Never ka nagka-attitude. Dumating ba yung part na lumaki ang ulo mo?
Yeah, admittedly, yeah. The industry has some room for me, so why not
Yay!
stay?
He's staying! Mapapanood ka pa rin namin.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So sa lahat ng mga marites na gusto malaman, bakit mukha pa rin bata si Piolo Pascual?
Cheers.
Okay? Cheers!
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. Russia has resumed participation in the Ukraine grain deal, allowing agricultural commodities to be exported from the war-torn country. Moscow says it has received assurances that Ukraine would not use humanitarian corridors to attack Russian military ships. President Vladimir Putin says if Kyiv breaks that agreement, Russia will again withdraw from the deal. Both Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked Turkey for mediating in the dispute to ensure food exports keep moving. Russia pulled out of the deal last week, claiming its Black Sea fleet had been targeted by drones in what it called a terrorist attack. Ukraine denied any involvement in the attack.
Russia says there is no doubt Britain was involved in recent attacks against the country, including the drone attack on its Black Sea fleet. Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Maria Zakharova also accuses the UK of having taken part in the September explosions on the Nord Stream gas pipelines. Zakharova says Russia will hand over evidence to support its accusations to Britain and will also release proof to the general public. The UK has denied the allegations and says these are false claims on an epic scale. Relations between London and Moscow have been deteriorating for years. Russia considers Britain a staunch Ukraine backer, one of the most hostile Western countries.
Reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads and infrastructure is underway in Volnovakha, Donetsk Republic, where a kindergarten and a number of restaurants were destroyed by the Ukrainian forces shelling. Roman Kosarev of RT News has the details.
Several towns and villages in the Donetsk People's Republic have been completely destroyed by Ukrainian artillery shelling. Right now we're in the town of Volnovakha. Most of the city looks like this. According to the mayor of Volnovakha, 80% of people's houses have been destroyed. Now, many Russian regions have been tasked with rebuilding of the city. Now, this particular apartment building is being built by Chelyabinsk region in Russia. And this is just one of many regions who are working all over the Donetsk People's Republic, trying to rebuild infrastructure and the lives of the locals.
Хочу сказать, что 85%.
85% of the city's infrastructure was damaged. Residential houses and apartments. 22 houses are listed for demolition. We have one problem now, which is the gas supply. Fighting on the front line left the gas pipeline broken, and the head of the region promised to build a new pipeline from Mariupol with the help of the Russian Federation. And by the beginning of December, this problem should be resolved.
Apart from restoring roads, construction of brand new apartment buildings, Chelyabinsk region is also rebuilding schools and kindergartens. Now, this particular kindergarten was nearly destroyed by Ukrainian artillery shelling. Now it is ready to welcome kids come December. Now, this is just one of many schools and kindergartens that were destroyed and now completely restored for the kids to attend.
We suffered a direct hit to our facility. It completely demolished the wall and the roof. The initial restoration and repair turned into a major overhaul. Everything was restored. The entire building has been renovated. Every room. We also have an old building where renovations are being completed.
This is a typical scene for the major part of the city of Volnovakha. Now, this is a future construction site. As you can see, this house has been reduced to rubble by the Ukrainian artillery. Locals hope that this soon will become a thing of the past. Roman Kosarev, RT, Volnovakha, Donetsk Republic.
Japanese and South Korean officials accused North Korea of firing at least 2 more ballistic missiles on Thursday. The officials said one of Pyongyang's missiles sailed over northern Japan and landed in the Pacific Ocean. Authorities had to issue emergency warnings for the residents of Miyagi, Yamagata, and Niigata to shelter in their homes or go underground. However, Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff claimed that Pyongyang's latest salvo of intercontinental ballistic missiles was a failure. Seoul said Kim Jong-un's ICBM failed during the second stage separation. Despite its apparent fiasco, Washington strongly urged all nations to enforce sanctions on Pyongyang. South Korea and the United States also decided to extend their ongoing joint air drills.
A driver mercilessly plowed into a group of supporters of outgoing President Jair Bolsonaro who were protesting against Lula da Silva's presidential victory in Sao Paulo. The initial police report said several people were injured. 2 police officers were also wounded. Authorities arrested a 28-year-old driver who could be charged with attempted murder. The motive is still unclear, but local reports say the driver is a Lula supporter.
Thousands of people demonstrated outside the Eastern Military Command in Rio de Janeiro Wednesday, calling for the military to ensure President Jair Bolsonaro remains in power. Reminiscent of the 2020 U.S. elections, those on the losing side claimed the election was stolen. Bolsonaro narrowly lost to Luis Lula da Silva in Sunday's runoff election. He has refused to concede the loss and has not acknowledged Lula's win. But Bolsonaro promised to comply with the Constitution and authorize the transition of power. Road blockades continue across the country for the 3rd straight day. Police used tear gas to disperse a blockade on the main highway near Sao Paulo. The federal court has ordered the use of all necessary means to open the roads.
Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has been shot in the leg in what his supporters say an assassination attempt. According to the police, Khan sustained bullet injuries from an AK-47 or similar semi-automatic weapon. Besides Khan, his party PTI's Senator Faisal Javed was also injured. Several reports said Khan is now in stable condition and stays at the Lahore hospital. In all, 9 people have been injured and at least 3 people have been killed. An initial report said one of the gunmen who fired the shots was shot dead. Meanwhile, current Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the attack on Khan. He said his government will extend all support necessary for security and investigation.
Police and soldiers patrolled the terror-stricken streets of two Ecuadorian cities following a spate of violence blamed on organized crime groups waging a drug war. The country is under a 45-day state of emergency after 5 police officers and a civilian died in a wave of violence Tuesday. A nightly curfew is now in effect. Groups armed with guns and explosives, including car bombs, hit 18 targets in the cities of Guayaquil and Duran. The targets included police and gas installations, a clinic, and a bus terminal. Streets in the two cities are much quieter now, but residents say they are afraid to venture out of their homes. Ecuador has become a major distribution center for drugs bound for the United States and Europe.
Ecuador's President Guillermo Lasso confirms that security forces have arrested 53 criminals who will be brought to justice. Organized crime groups waging a deadly drug war were put to blame after a series of attacks occurred in Ecuador. Recent reports said 5 police officers and 1 civilian were shot dead in the western provinces of Guayas and Esmeraldas on Tuesday. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, 2 inmates were killed and 6 wounded in clashes inside the Guayas 1 prison. According to Lasso, the attacks staged by criminals were aimed to generate fear and chaos, but the groups have not succeeded.
Que sepan los narcodelincuentes que no nos temblará la mano y sepan. Vamos, señores, vamos.
Next on Mata ng Agila International, Iglesia ni Cristo extends hope to Tokyo's children in need. Iglesia ni Cristo members volunteer for Care for Humanity efforts in California. And Kenya sends troops to DR Congo to fight rebel advance. More news from around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Sa atin kung paano ipagpapatuloy ang pag-aaral sa kasagsagan ng pandemya. Mabuti na lamang may mga kumpanya na matagal nang namumuhunan sa tinatawag na Learning Management Systems or LMS platforms tulad ng Kuiper Philippines. On this episode, let us educate ourselves on the ins and outs of educational technology through Yusuke Takagi, the CEO of Kuiper Philippines, and Anton Bailon, Head of Operations and Strategic Accounts of Kuiper Philippines.
Kuiper, actually, we built our LMS thinking with the Philippine school in mind.
When contents and LMS married each other, we can provide new education like blended learning or personalized learning or adaptive learning, we call it.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Oh, bitawan siya. Ako si Super!
Umiikot yung mga artista natin. Direk, nilagyan ko yan, Direk. Bakit hindi halata? Kaloka, wala na akong magagawa dyan, Direk. Nandito ka lang pala. Di ba inuutosan kitang maglaga?
Trading and construction supplies.
Iglesia Ni Cristo members in Southern California volunteered their time and resources to take part in efforts to help communities in need. 13 different sites in San Diego, California received care packages as part of the church's outreach program, Care for Humanity. Micaela Morante with the story.
In recent times, many communities have been struck by calamities, disasters, outbreaks of illness and poverty, among others. As a result, many people have suffered from hardship or are in a state of recovery. To address these problems, many organizations have stepped up their efforts to provide help to their communities. Some people have mobilized their efforts to gather funds to help those who are in need. Such acts of kindness were witnessed recently in the Southern California area. A large number of citizens from the religious organization Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ volunteered their time and resources to put together care packages consisting of food, personal healthcare items, and school supplies. These care packages were then distributed to 13 different sites in the San Diego County region, which consisted of schools and other community groups. Recipients of these packages expressed their thanks to the volunteers and remarked how touched they were for the care that their neighbors had shown.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I just want to give a huge thank you to Iglesia Ni Cristo for all the donations. These are going to be so helpful to our families. Our students are going to be amazed and very grateful for all the supplies. Thank you so much.
So community partnerships, especially like the one with the Church of Christ, they're critical to what we do. No one organization can serve the population of military that we have that may need assistance. So in order for that to happen, they say it takes a village. It truly does. So we are extremely grateful for your support and the church's support and all that you're doing to support our military-connected community.
We will get all this stuff situated and into our teachers' hands and our students' hands. So thank you.
One of the volunteers of the Care for Humanity project shared why this project was done.
They are significant because this is one of the ways that we as members of the church get to show our love and appreciation to our executive minister for his 13 years of dynamic leadership as our executive minister. And in our district of San Diego County, we had 13 different sites wherein we conducted these humanitarian caring activities where we handed out care packages to the communities in those locations, and we showed them our appreciation and our care for them. And we took some time to get to know some of our recipients, and we even invited them to find out more about the church.
In the face of the disturbing events in the world today, it's inspiring to know that there are people and organizations like the Iglesia Ni Cristo who are constantly trying their best to show their care for humanity in any way they possibly can. Reporting from San Diego, California, this is Micaela Morante.
It used to be that orphanages in Japan were solely dedicated to war orphans. But in the passing of time, Tokyo's orphanages now cater to children or victims of domestic violence and abuses. The Iglesia Ni Cristo, through its charitable arm, Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, has visited orphanages and children's institutions in Tokyo to extend hope for these children. Seko Onida has the story.
Even before the sun rises, Hiromichi Kage prepares himself to do the task assigned to him. He makes it certain that everything will be done accordingly. For the past 38 years, he has been dedicating himself to help some of the underprivileged children in Tokyo, Japan.
私は、社会福祉法人セントジョセフ会聖ヨゼフホーム施設長の影博道と申します。こんにちは。
Since 1984, Hiromitsu has been working at St. Joseph Children's Home, a social welfare facility in Tokyo, Japan. In the past, orphanages in Japan have been the home for war orphans. However, with the passage of time, These institutions are now taking care of children whose parents are not capable of raising them. These are children who have been victims of domestic violence or abandonment.
この施設は児童福祉施設という法律に基づいて作られておりますけども、その中で、事情があってご両親様たちと一緒に暮らすことができないお子様たちが児童相談所という国のね、ところを通じて措置という形でこちらの方で暮らすようにというふうになっております。
With these existing challenges faced by the staff and children in the orphanage, members of the Iglesia ni Cristo, the Church of Christ, wanted to extend their help by means of its humanitarian efforts.
Through the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, members of the Iglesia ni Cristo were able to prepare hundreds of packages for a Care for Humanity event at St. Joseph Chris Roy in Tokyo. Leading this noble endeavor, supervising district minister Brother Amante Rodriguez, together with other ministers of the gospel and church members, came to visit the institution. Coming from distant places, church members were in great delight to distribute care packages. On behalf of the orphanage, Hiromichi received care packages that included non-perishable food and hygienic products.
ありがとうございます。子どもたちに支援ね、本当にありがたい。
Extending this humanitarian activity, members of the Iglesia ni Cristo also visited another facility in Tochigi, north of Tokyo. They went to visit Tochigi Tokubetu Shien Gakko, a school for children with special needs.
教頭の遠藤千秋と申します。はい、本校は障害のある児童生徒が通っています。障害のある子どもたちも社会で参加できるように教育していくことがとっても大切だと思っています。障害にはいろいろなものがあって子どもたちいろんな大変なことがあります。その障害に合わせた指導を工夫するっていうのが大変だなとは思います。しかし私たちは教員で力を合わせていろいろなことを考えて子どもたちのために教育しています。また保護者、家庭と連携してそういうものは解決するように乗り越えるように日々教育しています。
With this in mind, members of the Iglesia ni Cristo offered their help and support. Bringing their smiles, expressing kindness, church members met the school staff and students. School staff and students received their visitors, members of the church, with gladness. Adding to their delight, church members provided them with packaged goods filled with food and sanitary products.
周りの多くの方々が本校のことを知っていただいて、そして理解をして関わっていただけるということがとてもありがたいと思っています。そしてまたこのような日常的に使えるものをたくさん寄付していただきまして大変ありがとうございます。
自分のことだけでなく隣人、他の人のことも考えてその人のためを思って送ってくださったと本当にありがたい活動だなと思っております。
Isinasagawa ng Iglesia ni Cristo ang ganitong mga gawain lingap sa mamamayan, Care for Humanity, sa pangunguna ng ating tagapamahalang pangkalahatan na ginagamit ang ating FYM Foundation para makatulong sa marami pang mga nangangailangan katulad ng makikinabang ngayon sa school na ito. Ipinagpapasalamat nitong pamunuan ng eskwelahang ito na naalala sila ng ating tagapamahalang pangkalahatan, ang kapatid na Eduardo V. Manalo, para makapag-abot ng tulong sa kanilang mga estudyante na pinangangasiwaan dito.
Through the charitable arm of the Church of Christ, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, people in need across the globe have been able to receive help that gives people hope to triumph over life adversities.
From Tokyo, Japan, this is Seiko Ida for the Worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan special coverage.
The World Health Organization warns that Ebola's arrival in the Ugandan capital highlights the high risk of further spread of the deadly virus. WHO calls on neighboring countries to boost their preparedness. Since Uganda's health ministry first declared the outbreak on September 20, WHO says the country has registered over 150 confirmed and probable cases, including 64 deaths. The deadly disease has spread to Kampala last week, where 17 cases have been confirmed in the area.
Although these cases are linked to known clusters, the very fact that there are cases in a densely populated city underscores the very real risk of further transmission and the very urgent need for increased readiness in districts and surrounding countries.
Ebola is spread through bodily fluids. Common symptoms include fever, vomiting, bleeding, and diarrhea. Combating the virus is through time-honored ways: tracing, containing, and quarantining. Outbreaks, however, are difficult to contain, especially in urban environments. Uganda's last recorded fatality from Ebola outbreak was in 2019. The particular strain now circulating in Uganda is known as the Sudan Ebola virus. Currently, there is no vaccine for this strain. There are, however, several candidate vaccines heading toward clinical trials.
In Kenya, President William Ruto announces that Nairobi is deploying troops to Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in a joint regional operation against a rebel offensive. The mineral-rich DRC is struggling to contain dozens of armed groups. Their recent advances in the country's east have revived all old animosities and led to a surge in tensions with neighboring Rwanda. Leaders of the seven-nation East African Community bloc, in which Kenya is the regional heavyweight, agreed in April to establish a joint force to help restore security in the DRC. Speaking at a ceremony in Nairobi, Ruto announces the deployment. He says the troops are on a mission to protect humanity.
We will not allow armed groups, criminals, and terrorists to deny us the potential for shared prosperity and the real chance of growing both our investments, our development, for the sharing in trade, for the mutual benefit of not just East Africans, but the entire region of our continent and humanity as a whole.
Kenya will command the force, which will also include soldiers from Burundi, South Sudan, and Uganda. A Rwandan contingent will be deployed along the border after Kinshasa objected to Kigali's participation in any operations within the DRC.
Coming right up, Bolivia's receding Lake Poopó leaves Uru people high and dry. U.S. employment too strong for Fed. And K-pop up-and-coming boy group Tan kicks off world tour in the Philippines. Find out more about these stories when Mata ng Agila International returns.
This
Kung kayo ay may sumbong o reklamo na gusto po ninyong paaksyonan sa inyong lugar, problema na nais niyo pong masolusyonan, mag-text sa 0915-415-1035 o mag-email sa responde@net25.com. Pwede rin kayo magpadala ng mensahe sa ating Facebook page at Net25TV. Hintayin po namin ang inyong mensahe para agad na marespondihan. Mapapanood nyo kami sa mga sumusunod na mga channels. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Kwentong may kurot sa puso.
But when you put your mind to it, you are unstoppable. Bilib na bilib kami sa'yo, Rochelle, ha?
Only good vibes at tawanan.
Hindi, chikit nga tawag doon. Sisiyo, asisi.
May init na issue kanilang hihimayin.
100 million na pondo. There's no cap. So I can buy 1,000, 5,000.
Sagot yan ng mga smart at pretty nanays ng ASPN. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Billions of dollars of funding will be spent to replace America's school buses with zero-emission models in the next 5 years. Keith Daphne Franco reports.
Over the next 5 years, $5 billion will be awarded to school districts across the United States to replace existing school buses with zero and low-emission models to reduce harmful emissions from older, dirtier buses. With funding from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA's Clean School Bus Program, has already awarded close to $1 billion to 391 school districts across the United States to replace existing school buses with clean and ZE models.
It'll be a lot easier for them to save money due to the fact that they'll be spending money on things that aren't diesel fuel, with gas being so expensive, especially diesel. And I think that it will be better for the environment in terms of emissions, which will help mitigate climate change. And possibly with the excess money, it could go towards looking for alternative fuel sources.
EPA announced on September 29 that it would nearly double the funding awarded for clean school buses this year, following high demand from school districts across the United States that applied for the 2022 Clean School Bus rebates. This is the first round of funding from the EPA Clean School Bus Program. EPA received around 2,000 applications requesting nearly $4 billion for over 12,000 buses. The applicant pool includes submissions from all 50 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa, and federally recognized tribes. The 2022 rebate program will fund approximately 2,500 school bus replacements. Find out on EPA.gov if clean school buses are coming to your area. Keith Daphne Franco, Pensacola, Florida, Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Bolivia's Lake Popo has mostly disappeared, leaving the indigenous communities reliant on its waters without a source of water, food, and without work. What once was a sprawling saltwater lake is now a dusty, dry desert. It has been declared a disaster zone. A former fisherman recalls how big fishes were abundant in the lake, with the smallest catch of the day weighing at least 3 kilos. Now, the Uru indigenous people say nothing is left. With no water, no food, and no work, many people have left the area. While the lake has gone through a cycle of drought before, scientists say climate change has accelerated the evaporation of the water 3 times faster than normal. Already faced with a threat of a permanent drought, the Uru people are in much bigger trouble as the lake has also been completely polluted by mining. The U.S. jobs report for the month of September, the JOLT job opening came in above expectations. According to the said report, this is a sign that labor demand remains strong in the United States. Employment openings for the month totaled 10.72 million, well above the analysts' estimate of 9.85 million. Though the employment news is positive for the U.S. economy, it is less so far the Federal Reserve. The latest data means the Fed will not give up on approving a fourth consecutive 0.75% percentage point interest rate hike. The Fed continues to face the risk of wage inflation pressures that deteriorate the overall inflation outlook for the U.S.
Starting as a sickly 6-year-old golfer, Ataya Sitiko has now joined Tiger Woods as one of the sport's youngest world number ones. This week, the 19-year-old Ataya topped the world women's golf rankings after a stunning debut year on the LPGA Tour. Ataya is the second youngest world number one after 17-year-old New Zealand's Lydia Ko topped the 2015 rankings. Being pressured as the world's number one, Ataya still aims to have continuous progress as a person and a player every day.
International music icon Celine Dion announced she will star in a romantic comedy called Love Again. The movie will be released in theaters in 2023. Fans of the My Heart Will Go On singer also confirmed she will appear in the movie as herself. In a tweet, Dion wrote, see you at the movies, and said she will act with Indian Bollywood film star Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Scotland's Sam Hugan. The Sony-produced film will be directed by Jim Strauss. It tells the story of a young woman who continues to text her fiancé after his death. The phone number's new owner, a journalist writing Dion's profile, will then try to find the said woman. Dion also announced that she will release new songs on the day of the movie's release.
TAN, which stands for To All Nations, kicked off their first step To All Nations Philippine promotion tour in the Philippines starting November 3 to 14, 2022. TAN is a 7-member K-pop idol group composed of Changsoon, Juwon, Jaejun, Sunghyuk, Hyunyup, Taehoon, and Jisung. The group is now eager to take one step closer to their Pinoy soda fans as they have slated a series of nationwide fan meetings, mall shows, media conferences, magazine cover shoots, television and online show interviews and performances. The group was formed through the MBC Survival Edition show Extreme Debut, Wild Idol. The show combined outdoor variety and competition as the contestants had to not only showcase their singing, rapping, and dancing skills, but also their mental and physical strength. The final lineup was revealed during the finale on December 16 last year and officially made their debut as TAN on March 10. 7 months after their debut, the group has already released 3 extended plays and 1 single album. Their debut EP, One Tan, was released on March 10 with the lead single, Do Do Do.
너무너무 감사함을 느끼고 있고 사실 그만큼 이제 한류의 뭔가 중심지가 필리핀이 아닌가 하는 생각도 많이 드는 것 같습니다.
아무래도 저희가 데뷔한 지 이제 얼마 되지 않았는데도 필리핀에서 굉장히 저희한테 와달라고 요청이 많이 오주셔가지고 저희가 처음으로 오게 된 거거든요. 그래서 그만큼 K-팝이 정말 이 한류가 이제는 한국뿐만 아니라 정말 필리핀 뭐 이런 데서 정말 전체적으로 전 세계적으로 일어나는 것 같아서 너무너무 감사드리고 있다고 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
Let's take a look back at some historical events that happened on this day, November 3. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 2, which carried the dog Laika, the first living creature to be sent out to space and orbit Earth. In 1978, the Caribbean island nation of Dominica gained its independence from the United Kingdom after being colonized in 1805. And in 2014, One World Trade Center officially opened in New York City, replacing the Twin Towers after they were destroyed during the September 11 attack.
And to help you go through this week, here's a quote from Ayn Rand, a Russian-American novelist. A creative man is motivated by the desire to achieve, not by the desire to beat others.
Yep. Always make yourself your only competition.
Yeah. I think if your gauge is other people, you limit what you can achieve.
Exactly.
And that is a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Elago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.